Admiral's 6 arms moved frantically across the command console of the Imperial Dreadnought Eternal Dominion. The massive warship, stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length, housed the most advanced scanning technology in the Galactic Empire. Yet somehow, something had appeared on their sensors that shouldn't exist. "Report," the Admiral barked, his mandibles clicking with irritation. The bridge crew of various alien species worked at their stations, the usual hum of efficient Imperial operations now replaced with confused murmuring. Lieutenant, a reptilian with scales that shifted color when nervous, approached with a data pad. His scales were currently a deep purple, a sign of extreme anxiety. "Sir, we detected the anomaly approximately 23 minutes ago. It appeared suddenly, roughly 12,000 kilometers off our starboard bow." "Appeared? Ships don't just appear, Lieutenant. They enter hyperspace, they drop out of warp, What exactly do you mean by appeared?" The lieutenant's scales darkened further. "Sir, that's just it. Our sensors show no hyperspace wake, no energy signatures consistent with any known FTL technology, no cloaking device signatures. One moment our sensors showed empty space, the next moment, this thing was there." Admiral studied the data pad with his 4 compound eyes, each capable of processing different light spectrums simultaneously. What he saw made no sense. The vessel was small by Imperial standards, maybe 200 meters long, but its design was completely alien. Not alien in the way the Empire had the thousands of species across the galaxy, but truly unknown. "Computer, cross-reference this vessel design with all known registry files," the Admiral commanded. The ship's artificial intelligence, a product of 10,000 years of Imperial advancement, responded immediately. "Cross-reference complete. No matches found in Imperial, Rebel, Pirate, or Independent faction databases. No matches found in archaeological records of extinct civilizations. Design parameters do not conform to any known technological principles." The bridge fell silent except for the low hum of the ship's massive engines. In over 3 of galactic expansion, the Empire had never encountered a vessel that wasn't in their databases. Every ship, from the smallest mining craft to the largest battle cruisers, had been studied and classified. "Sir," called out Ensign Mora, a young crystalline whose transparent body was flickering with nervous energy patterns. "The vessel is moving." All eyes turned to the main display screen. The unknown ship, which had been motionless since its sudden appearance, was now slowly rotating. Its movement was smooth, almost organic, unlike the mechanical precision of Imperial vessels. "Analysis of its propulsion system?" Admiral demanded. "That's impossible to determine, sir," replied Chief Science Officer, an elderly whose telepathic abilities made her invaluable for ship operations. "Our sensors can detect no engine signatures, no exhaust emissions, no gravitational distortions that would indicate propulsion. It's moving without any detectable means of propulsion." The Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. The Galactic Empire had ruled for over 5,000 years precisely because they possessed the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Their sensors could detect a sparrow breaking wind on a planet's surface from orbit. Yet this small vessel was somehow operating beyond their understanding. "Weapon status?" he asked. "All batteries charged and ready, sir, though." Commander, the ship's weapons officer, paused. "Sir, we're reading some very strange energy signatures from that vessel now." "Define strange, Commander." "The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. It's not plasma, not fusion, not antimatter, not zero-point energy. Our computers can't even classify what type of energy it is." As if responding to their conversation, the unknown vessel began to move with purpose. It turned gracefully and started moving toward the Eternal Dominion. Its approach was steady, unhurried, almost casual. "Sir, incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer, her tentacles dancing over her control panel. "Audio and visual. Let's see who's flying this impossible ship." The main screen flickered, and then displayed an image that made the entire bridge crew gasp in shock. The being looking back at them was unlike any sentient species in Imperial records. It was bipedal, with pale pink skin, small eyes set in a rounded head, and the strangest covering of thin filaments growing from its skull. The creature smiled, revealing small, flat teeth, clearly an omnivore, which immediately put the crew on edge. Most advanced civilizations had evolved beyond consuming other living creatures. "Greetings," the being said in perfect Imperial standard, though its mouth movements didn't quite match the words, clearly using some form of translation technology. I am Captain Sarah of the Earth vessel Odyssey. We've been observing your ship for the past several hours and thought it was time to introduce ourselves. Admiral's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Several hours? Impossible. You only appeared on our sensors 23 minutes ago. The human's smile widened. Your sensors are quite impressive, Admiral. We were curious how long it would take you to detect us once we decided to become visible. Become visible? Are you saying you were cloaked? Not exactly cloaked, no. We simply weren't interacting with your particular spectrum of observation. Think of it as existing slightly out of phase with your reality. The science officer leaned toward the Admiral. Sir, that's theoretically impossible. Our sensors operate across all known dimensional phases. Captain seemed to hear the whispered comment despite the communication being one way. All known dimensional phases, yes. We operate in dimensions your science hasn't discovered yet. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The implications were staggering. If this species had access to dimensional technology beyond Imperial understanding, they could potentially appear anywhere, anytime, without detection. What is your species? Admiral asked, trying to maintain his composure. You're not in any of our databases. We're human. We're from a planet called Earth, located in what you probably call the outer spiral. We've been watching the Galactic Empire for some time now. Watching us for how long? Oh, roughly 200 of your standard years. We wanted to understand your civilization before making contact. The Admiral's compound eyes widened. 200 years of observation without detection meant these humans possessed surveillance technology far beyond anything the Empire could conceive. What do you want? He asked, deciding direct communication was the best approach. To talk, primarily. You see, Admiral, your empire has been expanding steadily toward our region of space. Several of your colonial fleets are currently only about 50 light-years from Earth. We thought it was time to have a conversation about boundaries. Commander leaned forward. Sir, should we consider this a threat? Captain's expression remained pleasant. Not a threat, Commander. Think of it more as a neighborly chat. We've been watching how the Empire handles first contact with new species. Your track record is concerning. The Admiral knew what she meant. The Empire's standard procedure was simple. Newly discovered species were given the choice to join the Empire or be conquered. Those who resisted were either enslaved or eliminated. It was efficient and had worked for. You speak of boundaries, Admiral said carefully. What exactly are you proposing? A simple agreement. The Empire continues its expansion in any direction except toward Earth. In exchange, we continue our policy of non-interference with Imperial affairs. And if we refuse? The human's smile never wavered, but something in her eyes shifted. Then we'll be forced to demonstrate why that would be an unwise decision. Before the Admiral could respond, his science officer grabbed his arm. Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup from their vessel. Power levels are... This can't be right. What are the readings? Sir, they're showing energy output equivalent to our main reactor. That's impossible for a ship that size. Captain nodded as if she could hear their conversation. We should probably mention that the Odyssey is just a scout ship, one of our smaller vessels. The bridge erupted in alarmed chatter. If their small scout ship could match the power output of an Imperial dreadnought, what could their larger vessels do? You're bluffing, Admiral said, though his voice lacked conviction. Would you like a demonstration? There's an asteroid belt approximately 1 light-minute from here. We could show you what our weapons can do. The Admiral looked at his weapons officer, who was frantically checking his instruments. Sir, I'm not detecting any weapons ports on their vessel. No gun turrets, no missile bays, nothing. Captain laughed, a strange, musical sound that no species in the Empire made. You're looking for weapons that work like yours. We don't need gun turrets. Then how do you fight? We prefer not to fight at all. But when necessary, we manipulate matter and energy at the quantum level. We can turn an asteroid into free-floating atoms or a starship into its component elements. The science officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, if they have that level of quantum manipulation technology, they could theoretically disassemble our ship from the inside out without us even knowing it was happening until it was over. Are you threatening us? The Admiral demanded. No, Admiral, we're trying to prevent the need for threats. Look, your empire is vast and powerful. We have no desire to conquer your worlds or interfere with your way of life. We simply want to be left alone to develop our own civilization. The Empire doesn't negotiate with inferior species. The moment the words left his mandibles, Admiral realized his mistake. Captain's friendly expression didn't change, but the temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Inferior? She asked quietly. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge activated simultaneously, displaying detailed schematics of the Eternal Dominion. Not just external schematics, internal ones, showing every corridor, every room, every system. Information that should have been impossible to obtain without physical access to the ship. Your shield generators are operating at 67% efficiency due to a minor calibration error in Section 7, Captain said conversationally. Your main reactor has a microscopic crack in the containment matrix that will cause a catastrophic failure in approximately 8 months if not repaired. Your weapons targeting system has a software glitch that reduces accuracy by 3% when firing on targets smaller than 50 meters. The bridge crew stared in horror at their screens. Every system weakness, every minor malfunction, every classified piece of information about their ship was being displayed by this unknown vessel. Your personal quarters, Admiral, are on Deck 12, Section 4. You have a collection of rare crystals from and you're particularly fond of the blue one you keep on your desk. It reminds you of your mate's eyes. Admiral stumbled backward. That crystal was in his private quarters, behind multiple security locks. The fact that these humans knew about it meant they had somehow penetrated every defense the ship possessed. How, he whispered. We've been scanning your vessel since we arrived, Admiral. Not with crude sensor beams like yours, but by observing the quantum signature of every atom in your ship. We know everything about you, your crew, your technology, your capabilities. The screens went dark, returning to normal operations. We could have disabled your ship, or worse, at any point in the past 23 minutes. We chose not to because we believe in peaceful solutions. But please don't mistake our preference for peace as a sign of weakness. The Admiral slumped into his command chair. In his 3 centuries of military service, he had never felt so completely outmatched. These humans had demonstrated capabilities that bordered on the magical. What do you want us to do? He asked, his voice barely audible. Take a message to your Emperor. Tell him that humanity exists, that we're watching, and that we propose a simple agreement. You leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone. Continue your expansion in any other direction. There are millions of star systems in this galaxy. Surely you can spare the few hundred around Earth. And if the Emperor refuses, then we'll have to reconsider our policy of non-interference. Admiral, your empire has conquered thousands of worlds and enslaved billions of beings. You've done this because you've never encountered a species that could effectively resist you. That changes now. The human captain stood up, her image becoming slightly transparent. We're going to give you something to take back to your Emperor. Consider it a token of good faith. The main screen shifted to show the asteroid belt Captain had mentioned earlier. A cluster of asteroids, each roughly the size of a small moon, drifted lazily in space. Watch carefully, Captain said. Without any visible beam or projectile, one of the asteroids simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, a solid chunk of rock and metal several kilometers across, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space. Then another asteroid vanished, and another. In the space of 30 seconds, the entire asteroid belt, hundreds of massive rocks that had existed for billions of years, had been completely eliminated. We didn't destroy them, Captain explained. We simply convinced their atoms to become something else. The matter still exists, it's just no longer in the form of asteroids. The bridge crew stared at the empty space where a moment before there had been an entire asteroid belt. The implications were terrifying. If humans could eliminate asteroids that easily, they could presumably do the same to planets, or fleets, or entire star systems. This is our gift to the Empire, Captain continued. Proof of what we're capable of. Please understand, Admiral, we don't want to be your enemies. We simply want to be left alone. But if forced to choose between isolation and survival, we will choose survival. Admiral found his voice. I will deliver your message to the Emperor. Thank you, Admiral. We hope this is the beginning of a peaceful coexistence between our civilizations." The transmission ended, and the unknown vessel began to fade from their sensors. "Sir, they're disappearing again," reported the science officer. "Not disappearing," the admiral said quietly. "Moving back out of phase with our reality. They're still there, watching us, we just can't see them anymore." As the bridge crew slowly returned to their duties, Admiral remained in his command chair, staring at the empty space where the asteroid belt had been. In a few hours, he would have to compose a report to Imperial Command that would change everything the Empire thought it knew about its place in the galaxy. For the first time the Galactic Empire had encountered a species that was definitively more advanced than they were. And that species had just politely, but firmly told the Empire to stay away from their territory. The Admiral looked around at his crew beings from a dozen different worlds, all united under Imperial rule. They were all thinking the same thing. What would happen if the Emperor refused the humans' request? As if reading his thoughts, Lieutenant approached with another data pad. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting movement in the sector where the asteroid belt used to be." "What kind of movement?" "Unknown, sir, but whatever it is, it's big, much bigger than the scout ship we just spoke with." Admiral closed his eyes. The humans had shown them a small demonstration of their power, and now something much larger was moving through the area they had just cleared. A message was being sent, one that even the Emperor would be forced to understand. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy, and everything was about to change. Emperor the Magnificent sat upon his crystalline throne, his massive form radiating the bioelectric field that had helped his species dominate the galaxy for 5,000 years. The throne room of the Imperial Palace on Prime stretched nearly a kilometer in length, its walls lined with trophies from conquered worlds and statues of defeated alien leaders. Today, however, the Emperor's usual confidence was absent. The report from Admiral lay before him on a data crystal, its contents having been reviewed dozens of times by the Emperor's top scientists, military advisors, and intelligence officers. Each review had reached the same impossible conclusion. "Summon the War Council," the Emperor commanded, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Within minutes, the most powerful beings in the galaxy assembled before him. General, Supreme Military Commander, and veteran of 1,000 campaigns. Science Advisor, whose brain had been augmented with quantum processors. Intelligence Director OK, whose spy network spanned every inhabited system. Economic Minister, or who managed the resources of 10,000 worlds. "You have all read the report," Emperor began. "I want to hear your assessments." General stepped forward first. His carapace bore the marks of countless battles, and his 4 combat arms were equipped with the finest weapons technology could provide. "Your Majesty, with respect, this report must be fabricated. No species could possess such technological capabilities without our intelligence networks detecting them." Intelligence Director Ok's tentacles writhed in disagreement. "General, Admiral is one of our most reliable officers. Moreover, we have independently confirmed the destruction of the asteroid belt. Sensor data from 3 different monitoring stations shows the same result. The asteroid simply ceased to exist." "Ceased to exist?" Science Advisor augmented brain process data at incredible speeds. "The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. To convert matter to energy at that scale would require power output equivalent to a star. Yet the humans apparently accomplished it without visible effort," the Emperor noted grimly. "What does this tell us about their capabilities?" Economic Minister consulted his data displays. "Majesty, if this species possesses such advanced technology, they must have resources and manufacturing capabilities far beyond our understanding. The economic implications are staggering." "Explain." "Our entire economy is based on controlling resources and trade routes. If humans can manipulate matter at the quantum level, they potentially have access to unlimited resources. They could transform asteroids into any material they need. Our economic leverage over conquered species becomes meaningless." The Emperor's bioelectric field crackled with anger. The Galactic Empire controlled its vast territories through a combination of military might and economic dependency. If humans could provide unlimited resources to rebel factions, the entire imperial system could collapse. "General, what are our military options?" the Emperor asked. General activated a holographic display showing Imperial fleet positions throughout the galaxy. We currently have over 10,000 battle cruisers and 50,000 support vessels. Our largest fleet, the Terror of, numbers 300 ships including 5 super dreadnoughts. And you believe this would be sufficient to deal with these humans? The general paused, his combat instincts warring with military protocol. Majesty, based on the report, their single scout ship demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most advanced vessels. If that was truly just a scout ship. You're suggesting we might lose. I'm suggesting we don't have enough information to assess our chances. We don't know how many ships they have, where their shipyards are located, or the full extent of their technological capabilities. Intelligence Director OK interjected. Our analysis of the scout ship's quantum signatures suggests technology at least 2,000 years more advanced than our own, possibly much more. 2,000 years, the Emperor's voice rose. How is that possible? Our expansion has been steady and thorough. We've every inhabited system within 1,000 light-years of Imperial territory. Not every system, Majesty. The humans claim to be from something called Earth in the outer spiral. That region has been deemed uninhabitable due to radiation from stellar phenomena. Science Advisor's processors whirred as he accessed astronomical data. The outer spiral region shows signs of artificial stellar manipulation. We assumed it was natural phenomena making the area uninhabitable. What if we were wrong? What if those stellar modifications were deliberate terraforming efforts? The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans had been artificially modifying stars to create habitable zones, their technology was even more advanced than the scout ship had suggested. How many systems are in that region? The Emperor demanded. Approximately 800 star systems within a 50 light-year radius of the coordinates the humans provided for Earth. 800 systems, the Emperor calculated quickly. If even half those systems were inhabited by humans with such advanced technology, the Imperial fleet would be hopelessly outmatched. Majesty, General said carefully, perhaps we should consider the humans' proposal. They're only asking us to avoid expansion toward their territory. The galaxy is vast. There are millions of other systems we could colonize. The Emperor's bioelectric field flared dangerously. You're suggesting the Galactic Empire, ruler of 10,000 worlds, should bow to the demands of an unknown species. I'm suggesting tactical wisdom, Majesty. Throughout history, the Empire has succeeded by choosing battles we could win. And you believe we cannot win this one? The general looked around at his colleagues before answering. Based on the demonstrated capabilities of their scout ship alone, a direct military confrontation would be extremely costly. Even if we ultimately prevailed, the losses would be catastrophic. Economic Minister cleared his throat. Majesty, there's another consideration. Our expansion toward the outer spiral was primarily for resource extraction. If humans can manipulate matter at will, they might be willing to trade advanced materials for other commodities. Trade, the Emperor's voice dripped with disdain. The Empire does not trade as equals with inferior species. But Majesty, Science Advisor interjected, these humans may not be inferior. Their technology suggests they've transcended many of the limitations that constrain our civilization. The Emperor stood abruptly, his massive form towering over the assembled council. For the Empire had grown through conquest and subjugation. The concept of negotiating with equals was foreign to everything he had been taught. Show me the intelligence files on this region, he commanded. Intelligence Director OK activated a comprehensive holographic display of the outer spiral. The region appeared largely empty, with scattered readings indicating unusual energy signatures and stellar modifications. Our deep space probes in that region have been failing at an unusual rate, OK admitted. We attributed it to the harsh conditions. Now I suspect they were being intercepted by human defenses. For how long? The first probe failures began approximately 200 years ago. The Emperor's blood ran cold. The humans had claimed they'd been watching the Empire for 200 years. That meant they had been systematically eliminating Imperial probes while studying Imperial technology and tactics. They've been preparing for this contact, the Emperor realized. 2 centuries of observation and preparation. It would seem so, Majesty. The Emperor began packing, his heavy footsteps echoing through the throne room. Every instinct told him to order a massive military strike to crush these upstart humans before they could become a greater threat. But pragmatism warred with pride. "What do ours say about human psychology?" he asked. Science Advisor consulted his files. Limited data, but they appear to be remarkably adaptable. Their scout ship captain demonstrated both diplomatic skills and subtle threats with equal competence. They seem to prefer peaceful solutions but are clearly prepared for conflict. Their message was carefully crafted, Intelligence Director OK added. They offered cooperation while demonstrating superior capability. It's a masterful negotiation tactic. "You admire them?" the Emperor observed dangerously. "I respect competent adversaries, Majesty. It makes them more predictable." The Emperor stopped packing and turned to face his council. "Options, give me all possible responses to this situation." General stepped forward. "Military option, launch a preemptive strike with our largest fleets. Risk assessment, extremely high casualties, uncertain outcome." Economic Minister or followed. Economic option, attempt to establish trade relationships while maintaining military readiness. Risk assessment, unknown long-term implications for imperial economic structure. Intelligence Director OK presented next. Intelligence option, launch covert surveillance operations to gather more data on human capabilities and intentions. Risk assessment, possible discovery could trigger conflict. Science Advisor finished. Scientific option, accept human proposal and request technological exchange programs. Risk assessment, humans might share advanced knowledge but could also learn imperial weaknesses. The Emperor considered each option. None were satisfactory. Each path forward contained significant risks to imperial power and stability. "There is another possibility," he said slowly. "We ignore their request and continue expansion as planned, force them to make the first aggressive move." "Majesty," General said urgently, "that strategy assumes they're bluffing about their capabilities. If they're not bluffing, then we're facing a species that could potentially destroy the Empire regardless of our response. In that case, our choice is between submission and annihilation." The Council fell silent. The Emperor had stated the unthinkable, that the mighty Galactic Empire might face a threat it couldn't overcome through traditional means. "However," the Emperor continued, "there's something the humans may not have considered. They revealed themselves to us, which suggests they believe diplomacy is possible. That gives us leverage." "How so, Majesty?" "They could have simply eliminated our expansion fleets without warning. Instead, they made contact and offered negotiations. This suggests they have limitations we don't understand or principles they won't violate." Intelligence Director OK's tentacles writhed thoughtfully. "You believe they're constrained by ethics?" "I believe they're constrained by something. Our task is to discover what those constraints are and how we can exploit them." Science Advisor's processors hummed as he analyzed data. Their captain mentioned a policy of non-interference. This suggests they've been deliberately avoiding contact with other species. The question is why. "Perhaps they're not as unified as they appear," Economic Minister or suggested. "Maybe there are factions among them, some favoring isolation, others favoring expansion." "Interesting theory," the Emperor mused. "If humans have internal political divisions, we might be able to exploit them." General looked uncomfortable. "Majesty, we're speculating based on extremely limited information. These humans have demonstrated capabilities far beyond our understanding. Attempting to manipulate them could backfire catastrophically." "Everything could backfire catastrophically, General. The question is which approach gives us the best chance of maintaining imperial power." The Emperor returned to his throne, his bioelectric field settling into a steady pattern as he made his decision. "Here is what we will do. First, we respond to their message with apparent cooperation. We'll agree to halt expansion toward their territory while we review our strategic priorities. This buys us time." The Council listened intently. "Second, Intelligence Director OK will implement the most subtle surveillance possible. We need more information about human society, technology, and potential weaknesses. Third, Science Advisor will begin theoretical research into countering their demonstrated technologies. I don't care if it takes decades, find ways to neutralize their advantages. Fourth, General will quietly begin repositioning our fleets, not for immediate attack, but to be prepared for any eventuality. And fifth, Economic Minister, or will begin analyzing how human technology might be integrated into imperial systems, assuming we can somehow acquire it. The Emperor paused, letting his words sink in. Make no mistake, this is not surrender. This is strategic adaptation. The humans have revealed capabilities that change the balance of power in this galaxy. We will adapt to that reality while working to restore our dominance through other means. What if they discover our surveillance efforts? Intelligence Director OK asked. Then we'll discover how committed they are to their peaceful principles. Their response will tell us everything we need to know about their true nature. General stepped forward, and if they demand immediate compliance with their territorial demands, we'll comply in the short term while preparing for the long term. The Empire has survived for 5 by being adaptable when necessary and ruthless when possible. These humans may have superior technology, but we have something they apparently lack, the will to do whatever is necessary to maintain power. The Emperor's bioelectric field pulsed with renewed confidence. They made one crucial mistake in their first contact. They revealed themselves before they had to. That suggests either overconfidence or underlying weakness. Our job is to determine which, then exploit it accordingly. Dismissed. Begin implementation immediately. As the War Council dispersed to carry out their orders, Emperor remained on his throne, staring at the holographic star map of his domain. 10,000 worlds, hundreds of species, trillions of subjects, all potentially threatened by a species he'd never heard of until today. But the Emperor had not built the largest empire in galactic history by backing down from challenges. Humans might possess superior technology, but they had revealed themselves to be bound by principles the Empire had long ago abandoned. That could prove to be their fatal weakness. The game had changed, but it was still a game the Emperor intended to win. 3 months had passed since the Empire's first contact with humanity. Emperor reviewed the intelligence reports with growing unease. What had begun as a careful surveillance operation had revealed truths far more disturbing than he had anticipated. Intelligence Director OK entered the private conference chamber, his tentacles moving in patterns that indicated extreme agitation. Majesty, we have a problem. Define problem, Director. Our surveillance operations have been noticed, and the human response is not what we expected. The Emperor's bioelectric field flickered with anger. You were discovered. I thought you assured me your methods were undetectable. They were undetectable by any known technology, Majesty, but humans apparently possess detection methods we didn't anticipate. OK activated a holographic display showing the outer spiral region. Instead of the scattered settlements the Empire had expected, the display revealed something that comprehension. Hundreds of star systems showed signs of massive engineering projects. Spheres partially enclosed several stars, harvesting their energy output. Artificial planets orbited in mathematically perfect formations. Space stations the size of moons hung in the void, their purpose unknowable. How long has this infrastructure existed? The Emperor demanded. Based on stellar drift patterns and gravitational effects, some of these structures are over 1,000 years old. Majesty, this isn't a recently advanced civilization making first contact. This is an ancient space-faring culture that has been deliberately hiding its existence. The Emperor studied the data with growing alarm. The scope of human construction dwarfed imperial achievements. Where the Empire controlled planets, humans appeared to have built them. Where the Empire harvested resources from asteroids, humans had constructed space habitats that could support billions of inhabitants. What about their military capabilities? That's where the situation becomes truly concerning, Majesty. We've detected what appear to be defensive installations throughout the region, but we can't determine their capabilities. More troubling, we've identified at least 50 vessels similar to the scout ship that contacted Admiral, and those appear to be patrolling the border between human and imperial space. 50 ships, that's hardly a fleet. Majesty, remember that their scout ship demonstrated power output equivalent to our largest dreadnoughts. 50 such vessels would be equivalent to a significant imperial battle fleet. The Emperor's confidence was rapidly eroding. What else? We've intercepted fragments of human communications. Their language is complex with multiple variants, but our linguists have made some progress. Majesty, they refer to the vessel that contacted us as a first contact ship, specifically designed for initial encounters with alien species. This suggests they've made contact with others. Others who? Unknown, Majesty. But the communications suggest humans have been in contact with multiple alien species, none of which appear in our databases. The implications were staggering. If humans had been in contact with unknown alien civilizations, the Empire's understanding of galactic politics was fundamentally flawed. How many advanced species existed beyond Imperial knowledge? There's more, Majesty. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual activity along our border with the Free Worlds Coalition. The Emperor's attention sharpened. The Free Worlds Coalition was a loose alliance of species that had successfully resisted Imperial expansion for several decades. They lacked the technology to pose a serious threat, but their stubborn resistance had been a constant irritation. What kind of activity? Ships of unknown design have been observed in Coalition space. The energy signatures match human technology. The humans are making contact with our enemies. It appears so, Majesty. And there's been a notable increase in Coalition military capabilities since these contacts began. The Emperor stood abruptly, his massive form radiating fury. They're arming our enemies. The evidence suggests technological exchange. Yes. Coalition ships have been observed using propulsion systems similar to those demonstrated by the human scout ship. The Emperor began packing again, his heavy footsteps echoing through the chamber. The humans weren't simply defending their territory, they were actively working to undermine Imperial expansion by strengthening Imperial enemies. What does General report about fleet readiness? The General has been quietly repositioning our forces as ordered. However, Majesty, he's expressed concerns about our tactical assumptions. Explain. Our military doctrine is based on controlling space through superior firepower and numbers. But if humans can manipulate matter at the quantum level, traditional tactics may be ineffective. They could potentially disable our ships by simply altering the molecular structure of critical components. The Emperor had reached the same conclusion. How could you fight an enemy that could turn your weapons into harmless debris with a thought? Has Science Advisor made any progress on countering their technology? Limited progress, Majesty. His theoretical work suggests that human quantum manipulation might be vulnerable to certain forms of dimensional interference, but developing practical applications would take decades of research. We don't have decades. No, Majesty. Based on current trends, human influence in the region will make further Imperial expansion extremely costly within months. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority communication. The Emperor gestured for OK to activate the display. Admiral's image appeared, his usually composed demeanor replaced with obvious stress. Majesty, urgent report from the frontier. Proceed, Admiral. The human captain has contacted us again. She's requesting a formal meeting with Imperial leadership to discuss what she calls expanded cooperation agreements. Expanded cooperation. She claims to represent something called the Terran Federation, and says they're prepared to offer technological assistance to help resolve conflicts between the Empire and various rebel factions. The Emperor's blood turned cold. The humans weren't just arming Imperial enemies, they were positioning themselves as mediators in Imperial conflicts. It was a masterful political maneuver that could ultimately give them influence over all parties involved. Did she specify what form this assistance would take? She mentioned advanced medical technologies, improved resource extraction methods, and what she called peaceful conflict resolution techniques. Majesty, she also said something that I found particularly disturbing. Which was? She said the Terran Federation has been monitoring Imperial communications and is aware of our surveillance efforts in their territory. She described it as understandable curiosity and said they bear no ill will toward the Empire for our intelligence gathering. Okay's tentacles writhed in distress. They've been monitoring our communications. That should be impossible. Apparently not for humans, the Emperor said grimly. What else did she say? She extended an invitation for Imperial representatives to visit Earth for formal negotiations. She assured me that our safety would be guaranteed and that we would be free to leave at any time. An invitation to their... Yes, Majesty. She said Earth's location would be provided to demonstrate Terran Federation transparency and good faith. The Emperor considered this development. Visiting the human would provide invaluable intelligence, but it would also put Imperial representatives completely at human mercy. Yet refusing might be interpreted as fear or hostility. Admiral, how did you respond? I told her I would relay the invitation to Imperial Command and await instructions. Good, maintain communication but make no commitments. The transmission ended, leaving the Emperor alone with Intelligence Director OK. The situation had evolved beyond simple territorial disputes into complex interstellar politics that threatened the Empire's fundamental power structure. Director, what's your assessment of human intentions? Based on observed behavior, I believe they're implementing a long-term strategy to reshape galactic politics. They're not seeking to conquer territory directly, but rather to create a new balance of power where they serve as arbiters between competing factions. A shadow empire? Precisely, Majesty. They would wield influence without the burden of direct governance. It's actually a more efficient model than our approach. The Emperor's pride rebelled against the suggestion that human methods were superior to imperial ones, but pragmatism forced him to acknowledge the possibility. If we refuse their invitation, they continue building alliances with our enemies and gradually reduce our influence through technological superiority and diplomatic manipulation. And if we accept, we potentially learn more about their capabilities and intentions, but we also legitimize their position as equals capable of negotiating with the Empire. Both options carried significant risks, but one offered the possibility of gaining crucial intelligence, while the other guaranteed continued deterioration of the Empire's strategic position. There is a third option, the Emperor said slowly. Majesty, we accept their invitation, but we use it as an opportunity to deliver an ultimatum. We meet with them on there and make it clear that the Empire will not tolerate their interference in imperial affairs. That could be interpreted as an act of aggression, Majesty, or as a demonstration of imperial strength and resolve. They may possess superior technology, but they've shown themselves to be constrained by ethical considerations. We are not. The Emperor made his decision. Send word to Admiral, the Empire accepts the human invitation. I will personally lead a delegation to Earth. Majesty, is that wise? If something happens to you. If something happens to me, it will prove that humans are not the peaceful mediators they claim to be. That revelation alone might be worth the risk. The Emperor activated his private communication system and contacted General. General, I want our most advanced battleship prepared for a diplomatic mission. Full ceremonial honors, but also maximum defensive capabilities. Majesty, are you planning to visit the human? I am, and General, I want you to position the Terror fleet at maximum response distance from the target coordinates. If diplomacy fails, I want the capability to respond with overwhelming force. Understood, Majesty. As preparations began for what might be the most important diplomatic mission in Imperial history, the Emperor contemplated the irony of the situation. For the Empire had expanded by forcing other species to submit or be destroyed. Now, for the first time, the Empire faced a species that could credibly threaten its existence. The humans had demonstrated superior technology, careful planning, and tactical brilliance. But they had also revealed what the Emperor believed was a crucial weakness. They still believed in the possibility of peaceful coexistence. Emperor had not built the largest empire in galactic history by sharing power or accepting limitations. If humans thought their technological advantages would force imperial submission, they were about to learn that some species would rather face annihilation than accept defeat. The meeting on Earth would determine whether the galaxy was large enough for both the Galactic Empire and the Terran Federation. The Emperor suspected it was not. As his flagship Dominion of Worlds prepared for departure, intelligence reports continued to arrive. Each one painted a picture of human capabilities that Imperial understanding. Terraforming projects that turned dead worlds into gardens. space habitats that supported billions of inhabitants, energy sources that appeared to tap directly into stellar cores. But most troubling of all were the reports of human colonies beyond the outer spiral. If the intelligence was accurate, the Terran Federation controlled not hundreds of star systems, but thousands. Earth wasn't just it was the capital of a civilization that spanned a significant portion of the galaxy. The Empire wasn't facing a single advanced species defending their territory. They were confronting another empire, one that had been growing in secret while the Galactic Empire focused on conquering primitive worlds in the inner systems. For the first time in his long reign, Emperor began to wonder if the Galactic Empire had finally encountered a challenge it couldn't overcome. But doubt was a luxury he couldn't afford. The Empire's survival might depend on the outcome of the coming negotiations. As the Dominion of Worlds entered hyperspace en route to Earth, the Emperor steeled himself for what might be the most important conversation in galactic history. The future of two civilizations would be decided in the next few days. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy, and now the galaxy would discover what price that revelation would demand.